On the January 4th edition of Byte This, a caller sincerely asked Todd Grisham about Sting signing with TNA and how Vince McMahon must feel about it. I don't think Vince McMahon cares, Todd replied. He avoided the question by keeping it in character for Vince. He's the interim GM and he only cares about himself, and that's about it right now, he responded.
Good bit. Good response.
This is one of those weird eras where it's just like, they had that call-in show and people would call in and just say shit, and Todd Grisham would have to be there and react to shit.
I wonder how anxious he was before every taping.
So it's like, what are they going to throw at me this time?
It just reminds me of that, do you remember that clip of, Edge on the talk show? Where the guy rings up in his, I don't know, and is like, is wrestling fake? And he's like, my kids and my wife tell me it's fake, but I say it's not.
Oh,
and
no.
Edge is like, you fucking idiot.
Oh, dear.
Tears into him. He's like, of course it's fake.
That is the woes of asking wrestling fans to contribute to anything.
I haven't seen this, but because of the Perth show, there's a lot of normie sort of WWE guys on morning shows and stuff, right?
Mm.
And I don't think there's ever been a country in this world that doesn't understand wrestling more than Australia in the mainstream.
Are you still back in the 1980s kind of stuff? Where we're
Yeah.
Yeah.
We have to mock it the whole time because of how ridiculous it is. But apparently Rhea Ripley was on one of the on one of the biggest morning shows, and they were just destroying her with the most stuff that Americans would have said 20 years ago, but now I've learned to respect it. And just being so is this wrestling stuff fake? That kind of shit. And poor Rhea Ripley just had to deal with it as she's being mocked live on air trying to promote this billion-dollar company.
Yeah, it is funny how we kind of got through all that in the US, and it's just now wrestling is just the same as any television show would be doing a junket. It's just Rhea Ripley is here to promote the television show she's doing. That's what's understood in America now.
Yeah.
As you said, there was this weird thing because Becky Lynch is famously not a star in Ireland.
Yeah, sorry, before you bring it up, that was what it was instantly compared to when I saw it on Twitter. It was this is Becky in Ireland.
Yeah, so there was that interview she did with a comedian here named Tommy Tiernan, a bit of a dope. But he has a late night talk show, and he had her on as well. And the tone of the interview was the exact same thing. It's that's all fake, isn't it? It's dude, it's 2023.
Everyone's gotten over it.
This is not a question anybody asks. I don't even think kids think it's real anymore.
Yeah, it's a different beast now. It is performance art more than it is a shoot pro wrestling thing.
As you said, it is a billion-dollar entertainment property. That is what it is, and it is seen as. And it's so weird that because Becky Lynch is not a star here, and she should be. We cling on to anybody, and then she doesn't get any airtime over here. It's actually kind of bizarre. But then when she does finally get an appearance on our national broadcaster, it's just that same old shite of sure, it's not real though, is it?
Yeah, it's who how do you even understand any of this?
Because if you go back and read mainstream writing about wrestling from the 70s, there is always the tone of there is this weird carnal sensation to it that you simply cannot deny, but it is for the unintellectual and the people without brains. They're they understand the visceral appeal of it, but still look down on it.
Yeah, it's hard, man. How do you? It's impossible.
You just have to get it in front of people often enough that they're this is normal, okay.
Yeah, I think that's a part of here too, is that wrestling is not on any major free television thing, and free television reigns supreme here. Yeah,
it's the same in Ireland. There's never been mainstream wrestling in Ireland. It's not that WWE has never come here or there's never been shows on TV, but there's never been a moment in Irish history where wrestling was in any way important to something that was happening in Ireland. And I'd imagine it's the same in Australia. As opposed to the UK, which did at least have World of Sport, which was an actual cultural institution in the UK. And obviously pro wrestling television has been the backbone of cable since cable has existed.
Wrestling wasn't... the only time that wrestling's ever been big here was the 80s. Was the Australian territory stuff. That was literally the only time we ever had stars. Like, where people would just know people. Like, we don't have, like as big as WWE is still now, we do not have that here. And that is part of, like, the fact that, you know, free television reigns supreme in this country, and no one is on free television. I know for a fact that, like, WWE, like, I was looking at it for AEW, but, like, even WWE stuff does not rank in our ratings weekly. Like, in our top 25 shows. Watched on exclusively paid stuff still. Like, just on, like, paid services, it still doesn't rank in that. It's like, so it has to be, like, under 100,000.
Yeah, wrestling is, at the end of the day, still a pretty niche genre of entertainment.
It's like, it's big in one country, but it's just like, it is the niches of the niche here. And I honestly, like, I think, I've been thinking about this a lot recently, is like, I don't foresee, much like, I don't know, I assume maybe if this is the case in Ireland too, is like, Australia, I don't see us ever getting behind an American property like that either. Like, we are very much, like, in our sport and sport-like genres, we are the home team kind of country. So I couldn't foresee even WWE breaking through into the mainstream because everyone would be like, it's the fucking Yanks.
Do you think they could even get away with doing, like, an NXT Australia?
Yes, to a certain extent. It would have a cap on it, but they would need to get on, like, a proper free TV channel at a reasonable time. So it's like, it would be difficult because they also don't pay a lot for those shows. So it's like, you have to pay a lot for this thing that you don't know would be successful to take up prime time on these networks. It is not a very, like, it's not a strong incentive for any of these channels to take it either.
No.
When you can just do a studio clip show thing for, like, a 20th of the price, and that will do gangbusters.
You can just do a new season of Survivor Australia.
It's My Kitchen Rules.
I'm currently watching Survivor Australia, so...
How does it rank as opposed to other Survivors?
You really overproduce it over there.
Alright.
There's, like, it's so, like, aggressively produced in every way. Like, you watch the US version, and when people are just having a conversation, they just put the camera on them and run the conversation. But, like, Australian Survivor is very much like the WWE version of Survivor, where there's, like, dramatic music playing at all times. It's like, lads, scale it back a little bit. Just leave it breathe.
You are a noted connoisseur of MasterChef Australia. How did that compare to other MasterChefs?
I always liked MasterChef Australia the most because I think it was, like, the most chill and most laid back, and it was really positive.
Yeah, we rarely had people yelling at people.
Yeah, whereas, like, Australian Survivor is really in your face about everything at all times. I'm like, guys, that's not what I want from Survivor. I want, like, Machiavellian scheming. I don't want, like, people shouting at me.
Indeed.
Sting was backstage at the TNA tapings before Final Resolution, but not used on TV. Well, his voice was used on TV, but he wasn't. Those who saw him said he looked good and was laid back and was interacting with a variety of wrestlers who seemed to be enjoying himself and didn't seem distant or have a prima donna attitude, which he was accused of during his previous TNA appearances. TNA wrestlers expect him to earn his money.
Good for them.